in a predominantly male-dominated, line of work, have you experienced any type of sexism and/or discrimination? Of course, yes. But it has been kind of a double-edged sword. I used to work at Atlantic Records, and I specifically would tell them, do not put me on rap sessions. Please do not put me on rap sessions, because it's me in a room full of 20 dudes. All the other women that are in the recording session are there just as props, shall we say. I'm the one like flying the ship, so it was a lot of just kind of unwanted advances. But at the same time, I was also hired because it's a novelty, like, oh, she's a female producer, she's a female engineer. This is really, really, really cool. I understand that. Is that sexism? Absolutely. And with touring, I'm working with a lot of guys that are twice as old as me, and are not really accustomed to having females on the road. It has definitely improved more so now than it was, 20, 30 years ago, but, there's still gonna be a bit of a prejudice, for a 55-year-old guy who, was touring with the Stones back in the 70s, and that's when women weren't on the crew and, whatnot. Not that I've heard that before. Going on this tour was a little bit interesting, especially during this current election cycle, because there was a lot of Trump supporters and we had a lot of heated arguments about it. If you are not a white male in this country, it can be a little bit terrifying. I think for lyricists, this is definitely going to be an interesting time, but as a producer, not so much. I don't really see it having much of an impact on my art. I think just being, a minority, being a woman, and being here and making a living and doing this as my job, that is a political statement in and of itself. I know that as a woman, I've had to be not twice as good as the guys, but 10 times better than the guys. I mean, it's literally like you cannot ever mess up. I had a couple of instances where I screwed up and it was my fault, and then all the trust went out the window. Yeah, just you have to be so good. You have to be so good at your job. You have to be 10 times as good. So that's unfortunately what you have to do as a woman in a man's world where they are always going to be doubting your credibility. Don't give them a reason to doubt your credibility. You need to be an expert at your job, but it's also the way that you relate to people. You have to have a very high level of emotional intelligence. Go out and collaborate. You can do this all on your own, which is really great if you're producing a concept album, which you're gonna release and no one's gonna listen to, but the most important thing is to go out and be collaborative with other artists, and whatever it is that you're into, there is a community for it, especially if you're living in a major city. So go out, go find your community and become a part of it. I think the most important thing is to be in a space where people are making money from music. So it's gonna be a lot harder to be in Ableton Tech if you're living in Denver, Colorado than it is, for example, if you're living in Los Angeles or if you're living in Nashville or New York. I think especially Los Angeles and Nashville, that's where people are making money. So first step is to move to one of these two places. I have a new single that I just released with a friend of mine called Nephew from The Go. I have been working with a couple of licensing companies, so you will hear my music probably on The Real Housewives. And then, yeah, I'm looking forward to the next tour that I'm gonna jump onto.